Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. I never thought my peaceful life in the gated community could turn into a thrilling saga of deceit, betrayal, and justice. It all started when an obnoxious man moved in next door, becoming my new neighbor and an unwelcome addition to the homeowners association. Little did I know that his arrival would unravel a web of lies and corruption within our community. From the moment we met, it was clear this man had a personal vendetta against me. He nitpicked about my car in the driveway and disapproved of my work on the motorcycle. Our initial conversation was tainted by his condescending attitude, and it was obvious that he had joined the homeowners association to exert control over our lives. His relentless scrutiny escalated when he accused me of violating noise regulations, even though I hadn't done anything of the sort. I tried to reason with him, but he remained stubborn and threatened me with fines. From that point on, his watchful eyes followed my every move, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was brewing. One fateful day, while I was occupied with washing my car, my neighbor's suspicious behavior peaked. I noticed him repeatedly peering through his curtains, seemingly fixated on me. Unbeknownst to me, he had seized the opportunity to break into my house, targeting my credit and debit cards. Unsettled by the sudden onslaught of notifications on my phone, I discovered that someone had attempted to withdraw a significant amount of money from my account. Panic washed over me as I realized my wallet had been tampered with, and my neighbor's perfectly timed arrival only fueled my suspicion. Contacting my bank, I reported the fraudulent activity and managed to cancel the cards. The bank traced the withdrawal attempts back to the nearby bank, further amplifying my doubts. But it wasn't until video evidence emerged that my neighbor's deceit was laid bare. Caught on camera, he was seen shamelessly withdrawing money from my account and then indulging in a gas station spending spree with my credit card. The evidence was irrefutable, and the police wasted no time in apprehending him. Though he tried to negotiate his way out of the situation, his intoxicated admission sealed his fate. Justice prevailed, and I eventually recovered my stolen cards and the pilfered money. But the experience left an indelible mark on my family. The realization that my wife and daughter could have been in harm's way shook me to the core. It was time to take a stand against this corrupt neighbor and the homeowners association system that had allowed him to ascend to the presidency. Empowered by the desire to expose this malevolence, I attended the subsequent homeowners association meeting armed with police documents and my unwavering determination. As I recounted the harrowing events, fellow neighbors who had witnessed his arrest joined me in my crusade. The murmurs of agreement grew louder, and in a moment of daring, I called attention to his potential alcohol consumption. Without hesitation, a courageous woman beside him seized his cup, sniffed its contents, and confirmed the presence of vodka. The room erupted in outrage, and the disgraced former president left the meeting room defeated and exposed for all to see. It was a silent agreement among us that he was no longer fit to hold any position of power within our community. In a stunning turn of events, I was elected as the newest member of the Homeowners Association Board, tasked with upholding fairness, integrity, and accountability. The revolution had begun, and I was determined to transform our neighborhood into a place governed by the principles of justice and community. As news of the corrupt president's removal spread, the community rallied behind our cause. Together, we rebuilt the Homeowners Association, ensuring transparency, fair rules, and responsible leadership. The dramatic events that unfolded within our community became a catalyst for positive change, turning a once troubled neighborhood into a haven of trust and unity. The next one is a pro-revenge story. When I was 5 or 6, I had an awful teacher, hereon known as B for idiot, who would bully some of her students. This incident wasn't just isolated to me, but I'm going to share some of the worst stories that my classmates from then and I have made public. When I was that age, I had a stutter. It has since been corrected. It was nothing you couldn't look past, though, even though it was noticeable. Nobody but B and my mother had an issue with it, and my mother because she genuinely cared that you could understand my speech. Now B would make fun of my speech problem by repeating back to me what I had just said with an exaggerated stutter, telling me to speak normally and all that, regularly. I knew I had one, but it felt awful to be made fun of for it at that age, especially by an authority figure. I was also pretty good in school back then, not that there was much to be good at. I'd finish the assignments well and ahead of time and then not work on them while some other kids were. I talked a little bit to my desk neighbor, who was also a fast worker, and I would sit there. We had easy-to-learn books for kids, so sometimes I'd read Dr. Seuss and things like that. Turns out, even though I'd done the math or drawing or whatever right and had finished, B wanted me to only focus on that throughout the entire time everyone was working, even going so far as to call the principal in on one occasion and get angry at them when they disagreed with her. At one point, I was even sent to the principal's office to finish the printing assignment we'd been given, that I had already finished, no less, over recess. Another kid who was quite smart was a bit of a know-it-all, but for a good reason. He knew what I thought was absolutely everything at the time. He would sometimes help the person sitting next to him, who was a bit less gifted, and was called out by B for this sometimes. It was stupid, but honestly it was probably expected. At one point, B had made a mistake or something, I forget what it was, and he called her out on it. B called him some long word which basically amounted to, "little idiot," and he began to cry. Another friend of mine had moved from a school in a different part of the city partway through the year. The transition was really tough on her, but she adjusted as well as she could. Of course, she had the misfortune of being in B's class, and when she failed a quiz on something or other, she may not even have been taught this at her old school, B called her stupid and ended up making her cry. These aren't all the things B did to everyone, just a few examples to set the norm. Now years went on with this happening. I still don't like to hear B's name said and am extremely self-conscious about both my speech and my intelligence. That is, people won't like me because I'm too smart. This sounds stupid, but it's a legitimate fear of mine to talk about my grades with anyone. The friend who switched schools is still worried about being dumb. She isn't. B still bullied her students though, treating first graders like crap. One day, another friend of mine walks by the school and sees B being uncharacteristically kind to her students. He begins to look into this, ask questions around. Turns out that someone had finally spoken out about B hating her first graders, and that B was being sued by the parents of one of the children in her class. On top of that, she was ordered not to return to teach at the school again next year, as in fired with prejudice. I doubt she would be getting a good reference for teaching from the school any time in the future either. I know this probably didn't satisfy your sense of justice, and I know this isn't even my revenge. I'm just part of the story leading up to it. But honestly, it made me happy to see a teacher who bullied first graders get what she deserved. The next one is a petty revenge story. I have two stories today that have left me feeling both low and victorious. I have given birth to two large babies, my first in 2018, almost 8 pounds, and my second in 2020, almost 9 pounds. Adding COVID to the mix, along with my oldest child, who was adopted, and a foster child for a while, needless to say, I've had trouble losing weight and reducing my post-pregnancy belly. However, I've been working hard on it for the past few months, and now I'm noticing that a lot of my clothes are getting looser. So I decided to reward myself by getting some new clothes that fit better. In one store, I was simply looking at some clothes when I overheard a guy say, "Man, why do people look at skimpy clothes when they clearly don't have the body for it?" I subtly sneaked a peek, and I saw him giving angry looks at me. I'm assuming his wife was the only other person in this section. Now, not trying to body shame, but this guy had no room to be talking. He was over here looking like Winnie the Pooh with several inches of his massive stomach on display. I sweetly turned to him and said, "I popped out 2 big babies. What's your stomach's excuse?" His wife just about died laughing as this guy turned purple. Later at another store, I was trying on some dresses. It was one of those stores where they have a mirror in the dressing room, but they also have a better multi-sided mirror and better lighting outside of the dressing room. I stepped out to check myself in the better mirror when a woman came over excitedly and said, "Ooh, congrats on the baby." I was obviously not thrilled because it's a bit of a sore spot for me that I still look pregnant after all this time. But instead I just said, "Thanks. She was born in 2020. The woman's face fell and she scampered off. The next one is a petty revenge story. We lived in Japan for 2 fantastic years, and one of the things my kids loved to do was go to Universal Studios Japan, particularly the Sanrio area. The kids couldn't get enough of Hello Kitty. Apparently, neither could grown-ass adults. Midday at the park, they dressed some poor soul as Hello Kitty to come out and greet the horde of fans. That day there were probably 100+ people surrounding the mascot. Well, my kids wanted a picture with the huge furry feline, so I sighed got in the back of the line, and patiently waited. We were finally next in line when a middle-aged woman dressed in cat attire cut in front of my 6-year-old and me. We were shocked and didn't immediately react. Was this grown-up seriously cutting in front of a line of children? Then before I had a chance to say anything, she turned around and asked me to take her picture with Hello Kitty. I could hear a chorus of grumbling behind us. At this point, I was ready to throw her iPhone into the fountain, but I thought for a second, smiled, and agreed. I took multiple pictures in portrait and landscape modes, each time coaching her for the cutest poses. A few people behind us were gleefully watching over my shoulder as I either put my finger over her face or cut her head off in every single photo. The middle-aged cat lady thanked me and left so she could check the photos away from the crowd. We took our photos with the cat. They turned out great. And as we walked away, we saw the lady angrily scrolling through her photos. The mascot's allotted time was also up about that time, so she didn't have a chance to go back and retake her photos. The next one is a malicious compliance story. This just happened, and I'm still laughing my butt off. I'm a 25-year-old MTF trans woman who's been on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, for 3 years now. Because of this, my body looks naturally feminine. It takes people a while to catch on. My voice is softer and it hurts to deepen it. This is important information, I promise. I work as a vendor for one of the major beverage companies. Basically, I go to stores and stock shelves with my company's products. I'm listening to music, a playlist of video game themes remixed with one earbud in, as allowed, when a man in his mid-30s walks over. "Wow, girl, you are super thick. Wouldn't mind taking you home with me," he said with a bit too much confidence. I just continue working, ignoring him. He continues, "Oh, come on, don't be like that. I'm quite large under these pants, if you know what I mean. Something a sweet ass like yours needs." I continue to ignore him, getting embarrassed and very uncomfortable. That's when the music changes to the theme from Halo and he says what I needed. "Come on, cutie, say something to me." Inspired by the music, I instantly had a thought. It hurts a lot to do a masculine voice. However, in that moment, I took a deep breath and turned to him. I looked at him with a very enthusiastic smile, and he looked like a kid in a candy store, bouncing a bit like, "Oh boy, I actually got one." Going back to my roots, I took a deep breath, and in the deepest, most masculine voice I could muster, I said to him, "You're cute as well, sure I wouldn't mind having my way with you." Afterwards, I started coughing, my throat hurting, yet it worked. The dude jumped back a good foot and yelled out, "Oh hell no, duck this, nope, hell no." He ran out of the store so fast, constantly looking over his shoulder as if I was following him. The store's workers were laughing their asses off. Mostly all the female workers. One came up to me and asked, "How did you do that voice? I could never get mine to sound, oh, you're trans. That makes sense." That made my day, and is why I'm still laughing in my car while writing this. The next one is a malicious compliance story. When I, F43, was 19, 20 years old, I worked at the local franchise of a popular steakhouse buffet as a cashier and hostess. On our busier days, table turnover could be insane, and me having to help clean a table to seat was a normal thing. Servers bust their own tables. We would, of course, seat tables that were already clean, but sometimes customers would prefer a different location that wasn't. Since it was a buffet, this wasn't a huge problem. We would clean while they filled plates. On one very memorable occasion, this happened to me with a bit of a twist. I took a party to a clean table in Blondie's section. I don't know how old she was, but I would wager early 20s, and she had been there longer than I had. Anyway, when we got there, the head of the party said they would prefer a different table, still in Blondie's section, and indicated one that had not been cleaned yet. I flashed my best customer service smile and said it would not be a problem. They started to turn away and I prepared to clean the table for them. All of a sudden, Blondie rushed up to me and said that table was unavailable, and would another random table be okay instead. I explained the situation and that they had chosen that table specifically, but she was adamant. She explained that she wanted that table and another available to merge for large parties. Tips are almost always better with a large group. I apologized profusely to the current party I was seating and asked if the new table would suffice. They assured me it was all right and took everything in stride as they made their way to the food. The next time Blondie went into the dish area in the kitchen, less than 10 minutes later, I followed her in and proceeded to tear her a new one. It felt really weird to be so thoroughly dressing down anyone older than me. I was raised with old school morals and ideas of respect for those older than me. But she had embarrassed me and I told her so, and that what she had done made it look like I didn't know how to do my job. She apologized but held her stance. I was still fuming, so I did what anyone with a teenager brain would do. I went to Mom, or rather the head server and her supervisor. I told Mom what she had done and why, and she told me that's fine. If she wants large tables, she can have them. For the next at least 15 to 20 minutes, every large group that came in was seated in her section. Remember, busy day, so this was frequent. She eventually came up to the hostess station to ask me to stop. I told her to talk to Mom. The next one is an entitled parent story. So, I saw Karen with her child again, but this time in Walmart while I was grocery shopping. I made the mistake of ignoring my dog when she alerted to my heart rate. I genuinely thought she wanted the sandwich I was eating. Boy, was I ever wrong. I ended up feeling really dizzy and out of breath and had to sit down in the corner of the store while she performed deep pressure therapy. I must have been on the floor for about 10 minutes. During that time, a staff member at Walmart came over to check on me and asked if I was all right. They gave me a free bottle of water as well, and I'm very appreciative of that. Anyway, while I was down, the same child saw me again from a distance and had another meltdown. The child's mom had already explained to me last time that her daughter had autism. She was screaming and crying about my dog being there because she was terrified. I can understand why she may be scared because my dog is by no means small. She's a 115 lb female cane corso. Aside from alert and response, she's also trained for mobility assistance. Her breed isn't typically used as a service dog, but she was a natural. I got her as a pet dog, and she became the service dog I needed. She's a 100% good girl. This woman did not leave the store with her child, who was having a meltdown. Instead, she had the audacity to call cop on me. Eventually, the cops did show up, and she kept shouting that I was faking having a disability because I was too young to actually be disabled. And again, that it was illegal for me to have my service dog anywhere near food indoors, and that people like me are the reason why she has had to suffer lockdowns. I'm Asian. She said the least I could do is be considerate and stay home away from everyone and keep my dog at home where it belongs. My dog was very clearly vested with tags that say service dog. I showed the cops my medical note that I carry, stating that I require a service dog. In the end, the manager banned the woman from coming to the local Walmart for a year. The cops only gave her a warning for wasting their time and escorted her off the property. The next one is an entitled parent story. I started babysitting families in my church growing up. Between ages 12, 16, I babysit for over 30 families, and I was highly requested in that community. I knew everyone, and I attended that church since I was 4. Everyone knew me, I knew everyone. Very tight-knit. So I babysit for a family we will call the Smiths. I knew the Smith family since I was 10, and they had children that were younger than me. I helped with these kids for Children's Mass. I knew the family, and we were kind of close because I was one of the kids' helpers in a class unit. Plus, we all knew each other from the church and school. Now I'm 13-ish when this happened. I babysat for this family, the Smiths, and it was going good. They had a pool in their backyard, and the dad had told me to pack a bathing suit. He said, "The kids will probably beg you to swim with them if you don't mind, but you don't have to." So I babysat these kids for about 5 hours. 5. And 4 hours and the husband came home to take a work call, and then he would help with the kids and my parents would take me home. 20 minutes before the dad gets home, the kids want to swim. I agree and we all get ready. I had chosen a normal bathing suit for a 13-year-old, but I had a larger chest than others my age and the mom of these kids. Now the dad comes home and asks if things are all good. I tell him yes, and he tells me he will find us when he's done with his work call. It's about 5 and he comes out and asks to take another call. He asked to take a picture to send to his wife to let her know I'll watch the kids for longer since he had another call. Told her all went well till the wife shows up. Everything goes good, the kids are having a blast. I help dry them off, help them shower and change as the wife gets ready to take over, and the husband had started making dinner. I was in my oversized shirt bringing the kids downstairs when the wife signals to me. She pulls me aside and begins to shame me. She tells me I will not be getting paid from 5:45 for dressing like a slut in an attempt to stray her husband from me. That my choice of swimsuit was slutty, and she should have known better not to trust me. That I was a whore, and that my boobs would get me nowhere in life, and I was going to be assaulted dressing like that. I was flabbergasted because I'm barely 13 at the time and I wasn't wearing a revealing swimsuit. I nod and profusely apologize because I wore this to the pool and never had any problems, and me and my bestie had matching ones. I was sobbing hysterically, took my money, and sat on the porch waiting for my mom to pick me up. I hear yelling inside. Dad comes out, gives me $50, and goes back to yelling at his wife inside the house. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.